Introduce yourself and state your candidate number.
My name is Anissa binti Bustami and my candidate number is 0023480081.
Tell me about some of your works and how does it relates to your main theme.
Okay, so I was interested with the theme emotion, as I do believe emotion to be a strong theme, as it is the main basis of our actions, thoughts and decisions. So I think if the emotion I put in my artwork is strong enough, it will be kind of contagious towards the development of humans, and maybe possibly I try to hope that their behaviors to move for the better. So I try to vary and experiment my approaches from conventional mediums to digital mediums, just to see which one best express the emotions I'm trying to put forward. So the first artwork is DUGAAN DUNIA, which means worldly obstacles. This work is an exploration of the execution of the particular stress emotion through the use of charcoal strokes. So I think it best execute my stress emotion, as its rich and bold tones are able to highlight the wrinkles and texture of the skin on some parts, particularly the frowning forehead in the face, and some dark shades is applied under the eyes to imitate the eye bags of the teenagers today. The next will be the smooth and even effect of rubbing charcoals using cotton, also imitate the intricacy of the human skin nicely. So this is my first work of charcoal. I basically don't have much experience using charcoal, so I see there's a lot of room for improvement next time, in which to give better details towards the human skin, like the moles and some detailed wrinkles probably. So this work is a reflection of the Asian culture that I'm living in, which our society tends to put so much emphasis on good grades and education, in which it somehow stresses the teenagers, the youth today. So moving on, I don't really restrict my theme emotion towards that of humans only. For example, in the Skyscrapers Scrape Mother Nature series, I try to put myself as much as I can in the shoes of the animals coming down to extinction. So this is to give more depth and variety towards my artwork, as well as to show my sensitivity and concern towards the global warming and extinction of Mother Nature. The first one, I had used mixed media, which is like magazine cuttings, markers and acrylics. And in this work, I tried to find how the different combination within this medium complement one another in creating certain unique effect. So for example, I had created an emerging and rough texture to produce the fiery effect using saturated and concentrated red acrylics, and rubbing this texture with a small amount of charcoals, it kind of create the burn effect within the red acrylics. So this burn effect is to capture the scenario of the daily forest burning happening today. And the raging fire texture is also used to emphasize on the fury emotion of the tiger as one of the species coming down to extinction. And the human face on top is to capture the greed of human beings in manipulating natural resources, and the face is blindfolded as one of the faces is blindfolded to show the hidden identity behind these individuals who commit this crime of scraping the Mother Nature. So from the first series, I only focus on tigers, but in this one, I focus more on deers, gorillas, monkeys and stuff. So I try to expand further on certain expression, like the sarcasm and rage expression by different animals. So you can see there's a monkey looking towards modernization with the fear emotion, and some orangutans with their judging face looking at us. So there's a lot of experimentation done in Photoshop with the blend moods such as darken, multiply, color burns, to blend the images of the animals with the overall background of the city picture, which is filtered and saturated with red layers to arise the issue of global warming.
So now, what artistic process did you explore, and do you enjoy doing them?
The most memorable artistic process, I guess, was the TENGKORAK MASYARAKAT, which means the society skull, which I discovered producing a collage using small and detailed batik cuttings. It is interesting because I've never seen any artists online using the same medium as me. So there was a lot of risk to do that work, but it was definitely a challenging one. And yeah, so the idea to come, I was inspired by Anissa Abdullah, a Malaysian artist, during exhibition to Madrid. So she had used magazine cuttings to produce the very fine and detailed texture of the human portraiture. So inspired by that, I kind of decide to use batik, as it reflects a lot on my roots and heritage living in the Malay culture. So there was experimentation done, especially to ensure the form and dimension of the skull appears to be 3D-like. For example, for parts in the skull which require depths, like the hollow part of the eyes and nose hole, I had used dark patterns of batik. And for the last, slightly less darker tones, I used batik with motif saturated and vibrant tones. And for certain parts which is exposed to light, I had used pale colors like the mild green at the jaw part of the skull. So the second one is A Prisoner of Me, which I study mainly on the repetition of the Aztec arts, which comes from the European culture. And Aztec is mainly repetition of either organic shapes or geometric. So my attempt with this work is to create certain combination of different shapes in which to create a kind of mystical meaning towards viewers. So I use the monochrome color of only black color to give more focus towards the effect of repetitive shapes and imprisonment theme within them. So if I use more colors, then the shapes will not be emphasized as much as when I used only black. So for example, repeated triangular shapes suggest tense feeling of individual, suggested by probably the sharp corners at the edges of the shape. And shapes like circles is to show the continuity of life, as the circle doesn't have any sharp edge and it kind of keep rolling.
Any projects that you would like to specifically highlight?
So my theme is mainly on emotion. I think pixels of emotion seems to be the highlight of among all of my works, because it's a summarization of all the emotions. So this work is about how society expect youth to be all out, performing, be outstanding and be people pleasers most of the time. So this work discusses further emotion beyond that through the execution and combination between. I was inspired by Andy Warhol's Marilyn Monroe and Drip Black's low poly arts. So it was interesting to see to narrow down the gap between these two kind of arts from the different eras. And the repetition of the pixelized geometric shape within the human skin, with different angles of triangles and different colors and different orientation, it kind of create a certain depth within the human skin and a certain form. And when combined with pastel color, with pastel color schemes like the red, green, yellow, it somehow complement and strengthen the different emotions that I try to put in each portrait. So for example, yellow is to complement the happy feeling, and red is probably to emphasize the anger and the depression. So moving on to the next artwork is dalam doa dan ingatan, which means in prayers and thoughts. It's actually a tribute work that I did of the flood tragedies that happened throughout the last year, and the work was inspired by the strong emotional connection that I kind of felt towards the victims, as if they were like my family members. So certain technical aspect of the work is the images in the work, like the face of the boy looking down, perhaps 45 degrees downwards, is to show the acceptance of the nation towards the flood tragedy that happened. And the boy's face is parallel with the flow of the aeroplane going down, to show that we accept that as a will of God, of His plannings. And some teary-eyed effect is also put to show the even though we accept that tragedy to happen, but we kind of grieve for the soul's loss during the flood tragedies. And I had used faces of my family members to show my personal connection within the work. And the Malaysian flag is blended with the praying hands on the right side of the work, to picture the fact that despite Malaysia being a very multicultural country with different races and cultures, but tragedies like this strongly unites everyone and makes us a more caring and loving society regardless of our differences.
Okay, last one. Is there any artworks that you face with obstacles during producing them?
Technical wise, I think the Grand MERDEKA March and In Me I found Solace to be lacking of depth in terms of the execution of the medium used, because watercolor is kind of my unfamiliar medium to me. So I think it requires more experimentation and tests to get just the perfect strokes using watercolors. So in the MERDEKA March work, I found, especially in the uniform of the marches, I found my tones to be pretty much flat without any distinction between the positive and negative spaces. So it kind of create my painting to be slightly unrealistic. And in the next artwork, which is In Me I Found Solace, I think I didn't manage to quite utilize the blow technique to express my theme of confusion within the human mind. I'll definitely explore more on producing a more effective blow watercolor technique using different blowers other than straw. So the next one is Terbang Tinggi. It's a lot of obstacle, but I think I kind of managed to succeed in expressing what I have in mind. So it's a paper plane installation that was inspired by Don Ng's I Fly Like Paper, Get High Like Planes, where he folded thousands of paper planes to express his longing for a home feeling. So my theme is slightly different, in which I attempt to form connection between the past and the future. And paper planes often rekindles on my childhood memory as I remember, like when I throw rockets further, very far, I feel very satisfied and feel very like accomplished somehow. So it relates a lot to my youth life, in my hope to go far in life and stuff. So the installation has an interesting layout, with sometimes the repeated paper planes create some organic curves going up and going down within the pretty much small space, giving some intense flow of movements within the installation. So it's probably to give some intense feeling and emotion towards the desire to succeed in life. And it is arranged in a spreading out pattern to create a dynamic composition, and in which it's like curvy coming from one source. And the use of white papers is to create uniformity and focus within the work, in which in terms of the flow of the rocket, which is one of the main element in this installation, to depict the ups and downs and the journey in life.